Easy fixes for dull, snowy photos is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. Hello, everyone. All right, so it's funny that I'm talking about snowy photos because, well, I'm based here in Florida, and we don't get much snow here. But on my days when I lived in Syracuse, New York, the snow belt of New York, yes, snow was every year like clockwork, and there was a lot of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it, but before I do, let me just show you this image first. I love this shot with a family. All right, now, what can we do first before we fix it in post? Ask ourselves, why? Why do we have to fix it? With the way our cameras are nowadays, with this incredible technology, why do I still have to fix it in post? Because sometimes we don't have the correct settings in the camera when we're dealing with snowy photos like this. So here's my suggestion, especially if I'm working with families like this, or let's say wildlife, unpredictable events. I don't want to think technical. I want to think creative. So how can I think creative without having to worry about my camera settings? Something in your camera should be on auto, whatever it is. Now, I like photographing in manual mode. I set my shutter speed for my purpose. What's the purpose of the scene? Let's say it's a bird in flight. I'm going to increase my shutter speed to capture that motion. If it's a waterfall or a running river, maybe I'll drag the shutter speed and get it really, really slow. So this way, I get that beautiful finger soft cottony effect that we're looking for. So that's my shutter. Now my aperture, I'm going to choose that for feeling. What's the feeling of the scene? This scene here is an intimate scene between husband, wife, and child. I want that background blurred. So I am going to try to shoot it at the lowest, maybe 2.8 or whatever I have set. So what do I put in auto mode? Auto ISO. So my auto ISO is what's going to help me get the proper exposure. Now, here's the problem with snow. It tricks the camera. So what metering do you have set in your camera? Look it up. On a Nikon, they call it matrix metering. And the matrix metering is going to evaluate the entire scene. So it's in the viewfinder. It evaluates everything. And it says, okay, well, we're going to try to come up with a common denominator to make this scene look the way it should. Great. Now, I know Canon and Sony, they have a different name for it. So that's matrix. If I desperately needed to, you could put spot metering. And let's say, in this case here, maybe I spot metered right on the green jacket. Now, that's an example. I like matrix because it just gives me an overall balance of what it is. But again, you have different metering and you have to do experiments on what's best for you, your situation, and of course your camera. So now that we have that set, we're shooting camera raw. Does it matter if we change the ISO or the auto white balance? Because normally auto white balance is in the camera. Well, if you leave it in auto white balance, yes, you could fix it afterwards in post, but why not do it in camera? So if you have it in auto white balance, you might want to try for snow, try cloudy, see what cloudy does, and see if that snow doesn't come out blue. On a Nikon camera, I do notice it has a tendency in auto white balance, has a tendency of making the snow look blue. So you just have to be familiar with your gear. So, and the third one, since I switched to mirrorless, I don't know how I didn't years ago. Well, obviously we didn't have it, but I don't know how I photographed years ago without mirrorless. You can do the electronic viewfinder. What you see is what you get. You look through that viewfinder, you look at the back of the screen, and it's going to give you, an idea of what it's going to look like as a JPEG. Well, if that looks really good, you're good to go. Now you're set. Get creative. One other thing. If that snow starts to get blown out because of the auto, something that's in auto, which in my case, auto ISO, use your EV or your exposure compensation. That's that little plus or minus. And typically with Nikon, a plus 7, 0.7 usually gives me, it does that balancing act. So maybe this scene here with auto ISO gave me these exposure settings, but then I shift, and over here, maybe there's more shadows in the scene. It shifts, obviously, the exposure. Well, that's where that plus or minus comes in, because you, as the artist, says, look, and like what you're telling me, but I know that snow is tricking you. I want plus 0.7. You decide. So now that we have all that set, we're back into our editing. All right. So with this image here, let's check it out. So here's the original, and just a minor tweak. Look what I did. All right. Well, let's look at the edits I did. It was real simple. This is what I did here. Develop, structure, came back to develop again. So let's revert to original. Here's the original. Notice there's no texture like in the snow. Well, the first thing I do want to come into is I wish this was a raw file. I do want to set the white balance. Well, since I don't have the option, I'm going to click on the eyedropper tool. Something in the scene, I want a neutral gray. Now look, if I click on his green jacket, look what happens, right? So what I want to do is click on something, and I know, look at this, oh, that's almost pure white, so we don't want that. These are the shadows. No, I'm going to go up in here for a moment. There we go. And I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to look around the scene. Notice right there, that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to look for like a neutral gray. All right, let's see if that, oh, maybe that'll help us. Oh yeah, look at that. All right. So before, after, look at her skin. Look what it did for us. So again, look at something. And by the way, I practiced on this image. That's the first time I realized she was wearing gray. So that was so much easier. So find, like I said, a neutral gray, but that eyedropper tool, look, it's going to help you. You see how it's 192, 188, 181? That's close enough. That'll help us out. So there I am with that part of it. Now I am going to turn on my histogram, the whites and the black points, because I do want, wait, there we go. I do notice that, look, here are some blown out, that's pure white. Blacks are looking pretty good. All right, so I have that set. Now I'm going to continue before I address that issue. I do want to add structure. Boost, like we said before, is going to work on the finest of the details. Right, let's look at the trees in the background. Amount is going to deal with the entire scene. So once again, boost is going to deal with the finer details. Amount is going to deal with the overall scene. You go to a negative, you end up blurring everything. So I'm going to check it out here. When I'm doing this, notice it's going to blow out some of the snow. It's going to bring back the texture. If we go too far, look at the shadows. Look how it gives us that vignette, or that the fringe. So I'm going to dial it back just a bit. I still want the structure. Okay, good. Look. The shadows is giving me the nice structure. So I have that set. I'm going to go back to develop, and I'm going to dial down the highlights a little bit more. There we go. Maybe bump the shadows. Oh, let's enrich the shadows. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Now we got it back. So let's see the difference. Before, after. All right. So to me, that looks a lot nicer. Now, I could go back in again, and let's just say the black tones. Yeah, there we go. I might have maybe enrich the black tones just a little bit more. See what the whites do. It's a little too much. Right about there. Just enough. All right. So that's easy. Now, these owls. Ready? Here's the original. Look at, so, yep, you can tell, and this is a borrowed image. You can definitely tell they had an auto white balance. Just look at the blue. So let's see what I did here. We came in, same concept, but I used the color tool. So adjustment, revert to original. And we'll start with develop. Where do we pick? Well, I'm going to go around, and again, look, 175, 191, 207. See if we can get a better one. Good, so I'm just going to keep searching. There we go, look at that. Much better. Got rid of that blue cast. Good, so we have that set. Now, let's say that that's still bothering you. Color. Let's dial the saturation for the entire image down. Let's bring the muted colors up. I tried to remove color cast. Wasn't a fan. So I'm not going to mess with that. But I am going to come over here to saturation. And although I'm thinking this is blue, it's more cyan. Look at that. There we go. I'm going to dial it back. Let's see the blues. And there's blue in it. But there's the cyan. Or cayenne, cyan. All right, so let's see the difference. Before, after, much better. Let's see what structure's going to do for us. Yeah, look at the snow area here. There we go. Much better. Original. And then the change. All right? So there we have it. Those are the tips. First, get it right in camera because we're photographers. And then once you get it right into the camera, you come back here. Now, I will admit, many years ago, I was in Spokane, Washington, and we took a ferry ride. We hopped on this ferry to photograph Rainbow Falls. One of the first times I've ever photographed a fall in the wintertime. So we hopped on this ferry. It took us an hour to get to the location. My poor son got sick. He's vomiting. The guy said, hey, you only have 30 minutes to get to the falls, photograph it, and get back on the ferry. Otherwise, you're stuck here overnight. I grabbed my tripod. We took off. My son stayed with my wife. I get to it, opened up the tree canopy. Oh my God, amazing. I took a moment to take in the sight, set up the tripod. The guy said, quickly, I only got 6 shots off. I had a very slow shutter speed. So what happened? The snow falling looked like rain all over the place. I was able to fix it afterwards. But in that particular moment, if we act like photographers and say, look, you know what, this is new to me, but I am going to stay here till I get it perfect, I would have been stuck on that island. So sometimes we do have to say, let's just get the shot. I'll fix it afterwards. Those are very few and far in between. You can bet the next time I go to that waterfall, I'll take Jim Nix with me, Avi San with me, maybe Jacob Boers, and say to them, hey, before we get to this location, teach me everything about snow, waterfalls, and the time of day. And you practice it over and over again. So when you get to that location, it's second nature. All right? So remember, we're photographers first, and we use Luminar Neo to enhance our images. All right? So guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you're here, please stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment. For everyone else, I'll see you at the next coffee break.